Hello and welcome to the Ectohead channel. As you can see from the screen to the left of me, Dan Farah's documentary The Age of Disclosure has been released, and the various opinions on the documentary are incoming, and they're all very favourable so far, the few that I've seen. They talk a lot about how accomplished the piece is technically. And I often think that when people are complimenting the technical aspect of a creative work, they're less concerned with the substance of the work because it might not be exactly what they were hoping for. But nevertheless, The Age of Disclosure will stand as a testament, a stake in the ground at where exactly ufology sits at this point, and the resultant efforts to disclose by people who, as Dan Farah has said himself, don't want to be left holding the bag, so they're getting their consciences clean in order that when this comes out, and inevitably the US government has been shown to be lying to the people, that they've said they can legitimately say, said my bit, I'm clean. And frankly, I think that's a very strong position to be in. I think we can't at all underestimate what this documentary is doing, will do, and what it means for ufology and disclosure as a whole. And so, let's get underway. While we're all getting caught up in disclosure fever with the release of the Dan Farah documentary, The Age of Disclosure, there are nagging doubts, little bits of information from which whistleblowers and experiences are stating that there are facilities concerned directly with the recovery of UFO, UAP discs and technology that were staffed by Americans, British, German, and Chinese and Russian personnel. This has been said on a few occasions because people appear to have been taken to or been employed by as subcontractors, private contractors, and during the whistleblower testimony or recounting experiences, they heard and saw foreigners, effectively, or people who weren't American. And this flies directly in the face of what we're being told by the current UAP narrative. We're being told there's a threat. They appear to be around our military bases, housing nuclear weapons, and can interfere with them. And when it suits them, the UAPers will cherry-pick the abduction phenomenon, which is more closely aligned with the traditional UFO narrative, to bolster the unknown nature of this threat narrative. Yet traditional ufology illustrates time and time again that the UFO occupants take pains to tell us you're hurting the planet and you must stop nuclear testing. Pictures of mass global destruction are shown to these abductees and experiences, and on occasion they receive an extra film which they're told that they mustn't say anything about, and consequently don't. And so a message of save the planet, save lives is being sidelined in favour of the UAP threat-led narrative, and that should be a concern. So here's the problem. Disclosure is overdue, and Earth and her inhabitants could really do with some disclosure right now. Its promise is far-ranging, with the potential to, over the course of a decade, potentially, post-disclosure obviously, it will literally change the course of humanity. Star Trek is set in a prosperous, largely egalitarian future where there's no money or profanity, where personal purpose is the driving force of humanity and not profit or wealth acquisition. With the recent breakthroughs in robotics, we see industrialists and think tanks talking of basic universal income, because robots are going to be doing all the work, and that leaves humans jobless. And in this capitalistic social framework we currently inhabit, then the newly leisured must be able to eat and pay bills. The dystopia that capitalism promises can, with the emergence of a disclosure, turn into the version of a Star Trek future that we not only deserve, but desperately need. The question remains about the true nature of disclosure as it unfolds for us now through the various news outlets, YouTube channels, and the all-new singing and dancing UAP chorus line high-stepping their way into the history books. Ufology has been plagued with lies and disinformation for as long as it's existed in modernity, and all of us concerned with this carry suspicion and caution with us at all times. The damage has already been done to us by those who seek to obfuscate and distract. Something is happening right now under our noses, so incredible and special that without the lies and spies, we would have doubtless recognized it and embraced it long ago, and official disclosure would be all but redundant. There are so many variables playing out around disclosure that it's hard to gauge the actual temperature of progress in the halls of power and their satellite organs. Trump politically appears both the victim and the victor. A businessman who remarkably became president of the United States twice, a rank outsider in the political system, he is acutely aware of his position. And, in his second term, will try to become the most consequential president the USA has ever had. And what better way to go down in history than as the president who did what no other could do before him and take the world stage and announce disclosure ahead of the Russians or China, thereby guaranteeing his place in history, but more importantly, at least for now, stealing a march on the other superpowers to lead this subject globally. What a feather in America's hat! But would that be a betrayal? After all, as I mentioned earlier, there appears to be a combined effort on the UFO front by the superpowers to staff facilities and share information. These crashes happen all over the globe, and the respective territories either scoop them up or, as has been reported, just call the Americans to deal with it. A British investigator called Richard D. Hall interviewed a British military operative whose job it was to secure the site of crashed or downed craft, and who explicitly said, "We had to keep everyone away till the Americans showed up." Which brings us full circle. America and its mysterious role at the centre of this frustratingly veiled subject is seemingly calling the shots, regardless of borders or sovereignty. Maybe the secret is America's to tell. Who knows? I mean, what agreements were made back then? Maybe the reason disclosure hasn't happened is because the superpowers had an agreement to simultaneously release the information together. But times have changed, certainly since then, and the superpowers have never been politically in lockstep, let alone agreement. But Trump, as stated, isn't a politician. He doesn't share those concerns. He's a businessman who makes deals, and in the world of big business, the rule is get an edge and use it. That's how you dominate. That's how you stay on top. And Trump, after everything that's been done to him, rightly or wrongly, plus the assassination attempt, has to find a way to dominate his opponents and come out on top. Announcing the existence of non-human intelligent life and its presence here on Earth would tick every box and then some. But to what end? Do we get the peaceful, space-faring brothers and sisters, or a race of aliens bent on human destruction? Either way, I think disclosure is coming, and I, for one, am eager for it. Do let me know what you think in the comments below. Do like, subscribe, and share. And until next time, bye-bye.